one. This week on the latest episode of The Big Show, the longest award season comes to an end with the 93rd Annual Academy Awards this Sunday night. We invited two Gold Derby Oscarologists, Susan Wloszczyna and Wilson Morales, as well to give their picks, as well as two-time Oscar winner Russell Williams II, who will also join us to break down this year's Oscars picks. We'll have all that and more on episode 452 of Keeping It Real with FilmGordon. Let's go. All right, and welcome to the latest episode of Keeping It Real with FilmGordon. I am Tim Gordon, joined by the man with the instrument and his background that he dare not play. His name is Charles Kirkland Jr. Charles, how are you, sir?
You forgot to introduce me as Mr. Prognosticator.
I see right now, this is going to be one of those shows, man. I'm always forgetting to say something. No, I said what I said, all right? You are Charles Kirkland Jr., co-host.
I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to be here. This is going to be fun.
It is going to be fun. And let me introduce our panel around. We'll start with two Oscarologists. I love that phrase, from Gold Derby. First and foremost is my friend who also contributes to RogerEbert.com. I call her La Suze, but for you folks at home, she is Susan Wloszczyna, longtime journalist for years at the USA Today. This is a woman who has been about her business. Susan, thank you for giving us some time and joining us on the show today.
It's my pleasure.
No, it's actually mine. It's actually mine.
Oh, okay.
Also, an Oscarologist at Gold Derby and actually, he's on our show every week. I was going to say a frequent show contributor. He is the creator of blackfilmandtv.com, one of the finest working journalists that I know. Wilson Morales, welcome back.
Good to be back. Good to be on.
And last but not least, the man that I like to call walking history, two-time Oscar winner, one of four African-Americans who has won multiple awards, the only African-American who's ever won back-to-back Oscars. He is a friend and someone that I've known for a couple of decades now. Really cool dude. Russell Williams II. Welcome back to the show, my friend.
Glad to be back. Glad to be vertical. Glad to put this elongated award season in the rear view mirror starting tomorrow evening.
All right, well, let's get right down to it. Normally, we would have Wilson give us an entertainment update, but I want to spend a full hour talking about this Sunday night show. And let's go through, starting first and foremost, this year's Best Picture nominees, The Sound of Metal, Mank, Minari, Promising Young Woman, The Father, Judas and the Black Messiah, The Trial of the Chicago 7, and Nomadland. So I'm going to start off with Susan Wloszczyna. Susan, this year, as you know, there are only 8 nominees. We won't get into, we've talked about that when we had our show talking about the nominations that, you have a potential to have 10 slots. This year, only 8 made the cut. Since the time that those nominations were announced, probably 6 to 8 weeks ago, up until now, what film are you seeing that has been trending upward versus which film that started off with momentum that is now downwardly trending?
Well, Nomadland has been in the top spot since it was, it won at Venice, it won at Toronto and onward. And I think people would be foolish if they're trying to fill out their own home ballot not to put it on top, because it's pretty much a lock, I think. Now, what could bump it? I would say The Trial of the Chicago 7, because it won the SAG Ensemble Award, and that's often like the best picture when they give it to the whole cast like that honor. But the one problem with it is Aaron Sorkin wasn't nominated for director. So we'll have to see how that plays out. But I'm pretty sure you can place your bets on No Man Land.
Okay, Wilson Morales, I know, and I know publicly you may not say it, but I know you're a huge fan of the trial of Chicago 7. We've been going back and forth for months on this. Same question to you, man. Film that you think is trending up, film that you think is trending down.
Well, I've been writing the trial to Chicago 7 since day one, but as a betting man and somebody who does Gold Derby, I guess, the odds are with Nomadland. It's a juggernaut right now that you can't stop. It's winning everything in its sight. The fact that it wasn't nominated for a SAG, which gave the trial of Chicago 7 its only major win, may hold something because of the fact that SAG voters, some of those SAG voters are Oscar voters. So we just don't know. I definitely would say 99% Nomadland, and that 1% could be the trial of Chicago 7. And who knows if there's if this was rotisserie and you had a couple of cents left, put it on Minari.
Wow. Well, here, this next guy we're going to ask is the only person on this call who's an actual voter for the Academy Awards. Russell Williams II. What are you thinking, man? I mean, because I know you guys have your secret club of voters, and you guys got your secret handshakes and your rituals and all the other crazy stuff you guys do. What are you guys? Same question for you, man. What are you thinking as a voter?
Well, I think you're speaking of the director's branch, because I would say the other branches at large may not have the handshakes and et cetera. And we've talked about the director's branch several times on the opportunities that I've been invited to be on this wonderful show and handicap the Oscars. So yeah, I would say Susan is on point in the fact that Nomadland has gotten top honors from the Producers Guild, the Directors Guild, the Golden Globes. I do think that, as she mentioned, by Trial of the Chicago 7 getting the Ensemble Award from the Screen Actors Guild, the Screen Actors Guild, or I'll put it this way, the acting branch of the Academy has the largest block of voters when you look at all the other branches just individually. So if the actors get behind you, and of course, we don't have 100,000 people in our acting branch in the Academy, but we have more actors in that branch than we have in the other ones, I think, almost combined. So if that's the way the wind is blowing based on the Screen Actors Guild Award, then for ensemble, I would say it would be between those two. Nomadland has essentially crested on most all the other major award and critic spaces. But if the Screen Actors Guild started to feel that, well, there's more energy in the trial of Chicago 7, and we kind of like how they recreated that period of the 60s, that could also sway some people who had their ballots or the digital ballots in front of them. And I have heard in a couple of different trade papers that, The Father is looking good. It was also nominated for Best Picture, but I think it's a stronger vote that it may end up rising to the level of Best Actor over Chadwick, more so than Best Picture.
All right, Charles Kirkland, what are you thinking, man?
Well, I hate to make it a clean sweep, but I'm going along with everyone else in that Nomadland is the hands down favorite, I think, in this category. There is a lot of, I don't know, I've heard a lot of things about Promising Young Woman as being a quirky, sneak in type of winner. I know a lot of people think about the trial of Chicago 7, but there's a lot of same people who vote for that one movie would be voting for Nomadland, and Promising Young Woman has gotten a lot of push lately in a lot of different areas. So that could be a sneak surprise.
All right. Well, it's funny because I wanted to move on to our next category, but I want to touch on Nomadland again because I remember seeing it. I think, Susan, you saw it in Middleburg too, right?
Well, I saw it with a link. They sent me some links.
Okay.
We
all
did
right.
our
Yeah.
critics panel. So
Okay.
yeah, that's when I saw it. And I was just taken. I mean, it's not a good film to watch on your computer, but you know, because visuals of all the natural surroundings it's part of the, you know, power of that film. But it still engaged me very much. And I think it might be the one title I watch more than once. I wanted to see it again after so long.
That's interesting because I watched it once and I've only seen it the one time. I never went back and revisited it again, but it made a major impression on me when I did watch it. And you're right. I saw it in Middleburg at a drive-in and it played perfectly that night. And I was like, wow, this is good. But it's been a long time, in my estimation, since we've seen a film go, I'm not going to call it wire to wire, but you know, normally when a film comes out in October, there have been a lot of examples of films that have one picture that have been out that early, but there's usually an onslaught of films that normally come after it, you know, from November to the end of the year. And this year it was even more, I'm not going to say it was different. It was even more extended because the year didn't end in December, but the year ended in February. So now we're looking at this onslaught of all of these additional films, the Judas and the Black Messiahs and The Father and some other films. What has been, and this question is for anybody in an open forum, what do you think has been the strength of Chloe Zhao's film that folks really have locked into this film despite the fact that there have been several other strong candidates that have come out as well?
Well, I would jump in with the fact that there's really only two established actors in there. And the way that Chloe as a director has blended David in with, and our lead actress,
Frances McDormand.
Miss McDormand, right, who's always excellent. But the way that David Strathern and Frances blend in with, for the most part, real people who are living this life. And, you know, it's something that when you're on a road trip, it's kind of like, well, hey, you know, the people at this camp, you know, camping stations and people over here. But to really see, okay, this is in certain cases a choice, and this is in more cases, especially now with this economy, people have been forced to deal with this as the only way they can make a living, and they have to balance between, you know, it's kind of like a reflection on what America used to be, because migrations or migratory patterns between humans was basically, okay, you leave this field, you go to this town because they're picking this or this factory is open. So I think it did resonate with a lot of people, and it's beautifully done. But again, it's not really heavy with Screen Actors Guild members. It's really a blend of them, and it seems to blend seamlessly. So I think that may have been one of the things that caught the attention of the critics early and the viewers early. That's just my 2 cents.
So we've hit it from a social, cultural aspect. Who can speak to it from a cinematic aspect of what Chloe Zhao, along with the cast, did in this film?
Well, you can take a look, you know, when you look at the other films, you know, Chloe's a lot of that film centers on the cinematography, you know, and then you blend in the story within the cinematography. You can say the cinematography is a secondary character,
right?
You know,
I agree.
Because that's really what the story is, you know, like you have, because you take out Frances and you don't know how far that goes, but you still have everything else in place in terms of a woman traveling throughout the middle of nowhere with her van, you know, not her van,
RV.
RV, yeah.
And, you know, you take what she's done. That's why you see Chloe and the film getting awards for cinematography and probably editing, you know. There's, you know, that's that rural aspect of America that you rarely see. You know, everything else is pretty much centered. When you look at the other films, you know, you have Judas and the Black Messiah, a certain time period, and who knows, you have to get into it if you really want to see it. You know, you have Mank, another time period of film. If that's not for you, you're not getting into it. Then there's The Father, which is basically centered on one guy, you know, going through dementia,
Mhm.
Again, 20 minutes into it, if that's not for you, next. The Trial of Chicago 7 is like another period film, but there's a lot of characters and a lot of actors that we're familiar with. So you may be engaged in it because it has, the actors that we've seen here, Sacha Baron Cohen, Yaya, and all these other actors, in that regards. Minari, small family tale, um, a time period in certain ways of immigrating to America and trying to find their foothold here. Promising Young Woman is like the one kind of commercial film that's out there that's like, okay, we rallied around it for so long. And, I'm amazed it got as far as it did, in terms of this, the film and the screenplay. And Emerald was just shy of getting a nomination, and you got Carey Mulligan. But it pretty much rests on her, no one else in that film.
Right.
So No Man's Land, it was the talk going into Toronto along with Ammonite, and it was just those films, but No Man's Land stood out. And it's been sweeping all the other festivals out there because some of these other films didn't play at festivals,
Right.
And didn't get it. So, so we'll see what happens to see whether or not, whether or not the SAG award means something and Chicago 7 prevails. We don't know. But right now, as we all mentioned, No Man's Land is the one to beat.
All right. So Susan, for you, last part here on Nomadland. Over the 92 years previous to the Academy Awards, there had been a total of 6 women that had been nominated for Best Director, with only one, what's her name, for The Hurt Locker?
Catherine Bigelow, say her name.
Put some respect on her name.
Right.
Catherine Bigelow has been the only woman to win, and it appears that Chloe Zhao is going to join the exclusive club this year. What does it say about the Academy that here we are 93 years in, and we're only talking about possibly the second woman to ever win Best Director? And what does that portend moving forward for the expansion of women directors? Russell is already shaking his head. I'll listen to Susan first. Russell, you follow up. What?
No, what does it say about the director's branch?
Right.
Not the Academy.
No. Well, okay, you're right. It is the director's branch that nominates. Okay, so Susan,
if you don't get nominated, you can't be in the race.
Well,
okay, as everyone knows here. Okay, you're gonna let me talk?
Go ahead.
I want to get Tim on the right,
that's
on the
fine.
right
I'm
page.
talking to Tim. But
yeah, it's
here's
the
one of the upsides of this weird year is that all the big blockbusters took a pass, right? They're all waiting in the wings now, like the musicals like West Side Story and The Heights, all these big productions, because they didn't want to waste their money when no one was going to the movies or streaming it. They want to get their money back. So that way, that's why there's more female, like with Emerald Fennell and Chloe both being acknowledged, because they clearly made 2 movies that struck a nerve in different ways. And the fact that she's going to win, I mean, it's great, but will that be more of a does it open the door more for women? I don't know. It's just that this year might be an anomaly, and they'll go back to, patting their male, contenders on the back rather than women. I don't know. I hope not, but I think that's one of the upsides of what's happened this year, and all the diversity too. This year there's 76 women nominated for Oscars, and that's the most ever. So
Wow.
There's something going on. So it's beyond just the directing branch, but I think 2 women are nominated for, I think the woman who wrote Juno, she was like the first screenwriter in ages, female screenwriter. So we have, 2 female screenwriters, contending this year. So, and one of them could, I think maybe either of them could win. So we'll see. But again, I'm not keeping my hopes up that this will be, what normal will be going forward next year. Who knows?
Oh, and I stand corrected. I said 6. You're right. I forgot about Emerald Fennell's. Emerald. Is it Fennell or Fennell?
I don't know. I think it's like the food or the spice.
So there's actually been 7 women that have been nominated over the course.
Right now, including her. Yeah.
Right. So Wilson was about to say something.
Yeah, we're in this time period this year where we're promoting a lot about women and diversity, and if they prevail and win out this year, next year is going to be different, because now you're going to take away that. It's not going to be like you could say, okay, if Chloe wins now, you now have 2. So it's not going to be like, oh, she's only the 3rd woman. No, we're going to go back to like, is it a good film? Let's not nominate her because she's a woman. Let's nominate it because it's a good film. Let's not go into this whole she's the first Puerto Rican or this, it's like people still want to see good quality films. And if I remember, I had a conversation with Dee Reeves when she had Mudbound, and I forgot how the conversation goes, but the one thing she said to me was, recognize the film first. Then you can think about, oh, it's a woman. Then it's a Black woman. Oh, it's a Black woman who's a lesbian. So all those things are secondary to, you gotta like the film first, to be up there, as opposed to playing the stats and like, we're talking about like, oh, first this, first that. Like, hey, how good is the movie? It's like, granted, when I said to earlier today, and we haven't gotten on the Best Actress trip yet, I said, oh, with Viola Davis, you're not promoting the fact how good she is because she's been there before, Right. So now the question is, how good is her performance? We're not talking about how good of an actress she is. Some of the other actresses you can say that about, like Andra Day, because this is her first feature, but for Viola Davis, it's more or less like, is it her time to win a Best Actress award? Because she's already got an Oscar,
All right, so I'm glad you said that, Wilson, because that segues into exactly where I was going. Because Russell, I want to get an opinion from him, because when you say let it be about the film first, when you've got the nominations here, it's already been about the films. We already know what these films are because these films have been spotlighted, acknowledged, and nominated, right? But there is a certain level of politics that goes into these picks, and the Best Actress race is a wonderful example this year because you've got 2-time Oscar-winning Best Actress Frances McDormand in the category, with 1-time, she won a supporting actress. No, she did win. She did win for Fences, right?
Fences.
That was
yeah, but that was a cheat because
supporting.
she was the lead.
She was the lead, but
And then
she
she couldn't
race.
compete. I forget who won that year, what woman, but they wanted her to win, so they knocked her down to supporting.
So it sets up a good conversation here because Frances McDormand is up for her 3rd Oscar, and I've talked about it on the show that there have only been 5 people that have won 3 Oscars. Katharine Hepburn is the only person who's won 4, right? So that's
the actors, yeah,
in the actor category. So it's you're right, because John Ford has 4 as a director. But in the acting category, that is such a small, exclusive club. So is it easier to see Viola Davis become the first Black woman since Halle Berry in 20 years to win for Best Actress? Or is it easier for Frances McDormand to become the 6th person in that group? Or does Carey Mulligan just come in, as we said, with a promising young woman, upset the apple cart and just, as the votes are divided, and get through and become the one this year? Russell, what are you thinking about the politics as it relates around that? Because to Wilson's point, it's already been about the films. That's why they're there. We know what the film is.
Right, and I think even in our previous piece talking about the directors, the thing that made the directors branch so heinous is that most of these films that should have been nominated were great films, and they said, we're not going to nominate this film, because in my opinion, they said a woman director.
Well, you probably know that next year they're going to go to 10.
Mandatory.
Make that mandatory.
We're talking about for Best Picture?
For Best
Yeah.
Picture.
Okay.
Which they
Because
should have
it's
done
so
already.
stupid. They never, ever, until, they started doing that weird ballot thing of counting it.
Yeah, the
they
preferential
never
ballot.
had 10 titles after that.
Because the math was supposedly, if you didn't get a certain percentage of these
Right.
votes,
75%.
then you couldn't automatically you couldn't automatically just pick a 9 or a 10. And the thing that I thought was fallacious about that assumption was that at the nominating level, many of the members have not seen the films yet. So you're nominating from a smaller pool of Academy members, and then once the films have been elevated to nominees, then more people will now theoretically take the time to go watch these films, and they might find that 9 and 10 actually were films that were really great and deserving, but they didn't get a chance to see it during the big push up until what traditionally was the nominating season. So when we talk about the actors, not only would Viola Davis be the second African-American woman to win for Best Actress, she'd be the first African-American woman to win a second Oscar, right? I think on one level, I'm not sure how the acting branch, which again, they're going to be the real deciders since they have the biggest block of votes. So are they going to put their weight towards Viola, who in some circles is basically doing another version of something that was already on stage, which wasn't necessarily a knock against her performance, but I'm just trying to get into the head of the actors. And if not, then does Frances McDormand become, the woman who gets the Oscar, or does Promising Young Woman slip in because of the fact that we're in this important historical era where women have not only been heard, but the industry is responding. See, women were heard before, but the industry didn't care. They'd say, here, take some money, go away, keep your mouth shut, and just figure out a new career to join. Because, even with the Scott Rudin thing, his reputation has been known for decades. And I was thinking, okay, when Harvey got pulled, I said, when are we going to start talking about this job? But apparently this is not some fly-by-night, breeze that's just going to pass by, and no one is going to actually keep this energy going. This energy is here to stay, I hope. And so I'm thinking, if I would put my money anywhere in this particular season, I might put it on Viola.
Well, I have one beef about her playing this part, because she sang one song, something about a dog. That's all I know. Why, you have Andra Day doing her thing. She's the best thing in that movie. And so to me, I'm thinking Carey Mulligan might get a chance, and part of it, I should be thinking with my head, but for me, I think with my heart, because I've interviewed her many times. I think she's been underestimated so badly by the industry. She also had The Dig. She had 2 wonderful films.
Right, that was a good one.
And,
Right.
And she got to host Saturday Night Live with her husband showing up. And so I'm thinking, I don't know. It's just, normally I would pick Viola just because she's Viola Davis. And then I think also Frances has got 2 lead trophies, as you pointed out. But I'm just sticking with Carey Mulligan as my pick. I don't know when they'll close my Gold Derby predictions, but
I always go, there's always 1 or 2 that at the very last second, I'll switch it up,
but you
like,
should, normally I know that's a bad thing to do because
Yeah,
you're
it
like
invites you.
second guessing yourself. But
Uh-huh.
but this one is from my heart that I just want her, I want to back her. So
The SAG win was huge for Viola. I think, when you think about Viola and Andra Day, and they're the first pair of Black women nominated in 48 years. And I think people will have to ask themselves, who do we want right besides Halle as the other Black winner? Viola should have a Best Actress award already, you know? And the thing with Andra Day, who gives a phenomenal performance, but it's been 30 plus years since somebody won on their first take, not since Marlee Matlin and Children of a Lesser God, and then the question is she here to stay? People don't want to reward you and then never see you again, at least on, because she has a day job. She's a singer. You can do that with supporting. Jennifer Hudson, won her first crack, and she's obviously since then gone on to do more films. We don't know what's going to happen with Andra Day. Vanessa Kirby, the win is the nominations. That she took that to Venice, got an award there, and it's been chilling, throughout this whole time. It's like, hey, and parlayed that win to a nomination. I'm like, I'm good, because no one's really talking about that film. And so it boils down to Carey Mulligan, who's been previously nominated. Sometimes that previous nomination helps you out because you've been at the dance,
Right.
And you have yet to win. I think Susan's right in that she's been, I guess, underrated. I think she took a bit of time off. I think she had a kid, I'm not sure, but she's had some strong roles. So she just never got recognized on, but some of those roles have been small. So it all depends on who is the distributor behind those. And like you said, I don't know how many people saw The Dig. That was a quietly good film. But then it boils down to Viola Davis, and it's like, they have to, I kept thinking like they have to use the Susan Lucci, like how long can you get this girl nominated? And not that she has a lot of nominations, but how long can she go without a win? When you think about, not that long ago, I'm looking at the Golden Globes, and Jane Fonda was up there talking. She got an award, and then the Cecil B. DeMille Award. And I'm thinking, she's been nominated 7 times and has 2 Best Actress awards. And then you think about all the past Black actresses who have yet to win, from Angela Bassett to Diane Carroll to Cicely Tyson. The ones that we call greats who have yet to win.
Right.
And Viola Davis is active right now. When are you going to give her due? You remember Al Pacino won against Denzel Washington when Denzel played Malcolm X, but that was Al Pacino's 8th nomination. And it was like, you can't give it to him then. At that point, Denzel was 80, it was 89, and he kind of still knew, so like, oh, Denzel will have another chance, Al on that 8th nomination, like, we're not trying to make him Peter O'Toole.
All right, I got 2 corrections because I don't want people coming back writing me evilly later on. For Susan Wloszczyna, who said that Viola Davis sang one song in Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, she sang she sang Black Bottom at the beginning of the movie, and then she sang the song she recorded. So she actually recorded 2 songs that was on that soundtrack. And for Wilson Morales, Al Pacino's 8th nomination against Denzel Washington did not happen in 89. It was in 92 when Malcolm X came out. So I just wanted to make sure we had that quite correction, because they write me the evil email, not you.
I got the year wrong.
I probably read something on Gold Derby that said what I just said. So.
Leave it on GD.
All right, let's cut through all the BS. I mean, for what it's worth, Andra Day did the best performance of a lead actress of the year.
I agree.
There's no denying it. She did everything that an Oscar winner in the past has done. She lost weight. She dove into the character that was the majority of the movie, the primary character of a movie, and she sang songs in the film. So she did everything that is necessary to be considered the best actress of the year. However, the Oscars are about a lot of other things other than the actual best performance. So if it were my vote, I would say Andra Day should win, because she did the best performance. It's her first performance. And like Wilson said, we don't know if there's going to be a follow-up to this. But, you know, she did the best.
What was the name of the actress that won for Edith Piaf?
Marion Cotillard. She did not sing.
She doesn't sing.
But she did a lot of things after that as well. So, I mean, it wasn't like we never saw her again. But
my concern about that Best Actress is you got the ballot digitally in your hand or on your screen. And so now you put us in this situation where typically we would only have one diverse female to concern ourselves with in these votes. And so now that we have two, then they're going to be the people who vote for Viola, the people who will vote for Andra, and then either Miss McDormand will break through in the middle, or
Carrie
Mulligan will break through, because the other vote will be split. Generally, if it was only one or the other, I don't think it would be a really that close a race. If it was just Viola, I think Viola would win. If it was just Andra, I think Andra would win.
Right.
And after you have two, then I think that vote's going to get split. That's my guess. But I do agree with Charles that in terms of who had to put the most of their life force on the screen, it would be Andrew.
Right.
But did you like the movie as much as, you know, the other ones that are represented?
Well, I mean, the thing that I'll put it this way. When I see plays on film, the filmmaker has to be very skilled to take me out of this thing that this was just a filmed play and make it cinema. So I think they did do a fairly good job cutting down what the play version or the on-stage version of this would be to make it a little bit more cinematic. But of course, it is very, 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 very wordy, right? And so I think that the film also brought out, as a Billie Holiday fan, I used to have a jazz radio show. So, you know, these are aspects of Billie's life that I hadn't been aware of. So I always like to get an education, even though it's supposed to be narrative fiction. You know, I like to get an education when I see a film about a real person. And the fact that I had to sit there and listen, I said, now, is that really Andra Day singing, or is that Billie Holiday? Because she was so dead on.
That was Andra Day singing.
That was her. Yeah, I mean, Tim had told me before I saw the movie, she did her own singing. And then I said, I'm not sure about Tim's ears. I said, it sounds like Billie Holiday to me.
That was Andra Day.
I went back into all the YouTube stuff, and yep, there she is in the studio. I'm like, well, damn. You know, so even though I think all of the 40s women that we've talked about put in excellent performances, but I think Andra had to climb a higher mountain, not only to get recognized, but certainly to get nominated.
Right.
So, I you know, in my soul, I would love to see Andra win. I wouldn't be disappointed if Viola won, but you know, the way the votes are counted, which we'll never see thanks to Price Waterhouse, I can't tell you who's going to win tomorrow. Okay.
All right. Well, speaking of winning tomorrow, let's get to the other hotly contested race, which is Best Actor. And the nominees in that category, of course, are Anthony Hopkins for The Father, Riz Ahmed for Sound of Metal, Stephen Yeun for Minari, Chadwick Boseman, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, and Gary Oldman for Mank. And my personal opinion, before I get into the question, there's been the back and forth regarding Chadwick Boseman, who has really been popular this award season. I thought it was the best performance of his career. I thought that Yoon in Minari was excellent as well. Anthony Hopkins, his dementia turn in The Father, I thought was strong as well. Riz Ahmed is getting a lot of love. And I don't know, because we've even debated it on this show. Wilson and I have talked about the fact that, you know, if Chadwick Boseman won, he would be the first posthumous winner in this category. Am I correct? Since Peter Finch in Network in 1976?
You are correct, sir.
Hey, I'm not an Oscarologist. I'm just the guy that's a film nerd. So I just know some stuff. So What are we thinking? Is Chadwick Boseman, and again, we're not going to get into the fact because, Wilson and I have debated this ad nauseum. If Chadwick Boseman was still alive, would he get the goodwill that he's generating? At this point, it's a wash because we're here. So what are we thinking about tomorrow night's race? Does Anthony Hopkins have a chance to steal this because the votes may be split between Yoon, Riz Ahmed, and Boseman? What are you guys, you Oscarologists, I'll start with you guys. What are you thinking about the best actor race tomorrow night? Sunday night.
The money's on Chadwick, but I would say, speaking to older individuals, they really like Anthony Hopkins' performance, and same thing for Riz Ahmed. I think that, it gets to a point where you got to keep talking about the performance and not about, well, he's not here anymore, he's not going to get another chance to win. Let it be about the performance, because I'm sure that, throughout these award shows, people don't want to see be feeling guilty if they don't vote for Chadwick. It's like if he's dropped, I was not aware or around or cognizant to know about Peter Finch's performance to say was that unanimous. We just got to give it to him. Russell would know more about that. Maybe you guys, as far as when that happened.
Right.
But with Chadwick, it's okay. He recently lost to Stephen Young at the Independent Spirit Awards. He lost at BAFTA to Anthony Hopkins. And which is kind of good because now it makes you watch those movies and say, let me wait a minute, because I'm sure because you've seen the recent wins from Chadwick, it starts a defeatist attitude that for a lot of people who are not seeing all of these movies and they're getting these things digitally, some of them are just saying, what is everybody else saying? Oh, Chadwick, check. Nomadland, check, because they haven't had the time to see all of these movies. They just want to be the outside and pick something that random.
Wait, that's a poor excuse because you're sitting at home all day long.
But believe me, you got to find a time to see some of these movies. And I live in New York, and I've seen, and prior to COVID, I've met Oscar voters, and a lot of them don't see certain movies. I've said this before on other shows of Tim's. I met an Oscar voter years ago, and he's not an actor, but he's a voter. And we happened to see each other back-to-back events. And we got to talking. I don't know how the conversation started, but he said he never saw Straight Outta Compton. And I said, and you remember that was the year it didn't get nominated for Best Picture, and every Oscar pundit had it as a nomination. And I said the movie was 5 weeks #1, grossed over 160 million at the box office, did well overseas, had over 93% Rotten Tomatoes. And he basically says, I'm a 60-year-old Jewish guy, a movie about rap is not of interest to me. And then he says, at the same time, he goes, if I'm not getting an invite to a reception, I'm not gonna go see it. If I get it, if there's a reception, for the movie where they get some free food, I'll check it out. And Russell can attest to this, where a lot of times you'll get invited to see movies at some place that you have never been to before, that you don't mind, because people, let's just say, for example, everybody's always home, and so you don't mind getting that invite to go see a movie and then having some dinner where you can go see colleagues, to sway your opinion. Especially for documentaries or small films that normally is not in your way to see it. And Russell said it earlier before in another show that you and I, Susan, do this on year by year, day by day, week by week. These Oscar voters are getting the swarm of screeners all at once, right. And so they don't have the time frame to start saying, let me go check out these 8 movies, even though they have to because they're voters. Right. A lot of times they don't. If it's on Netflix, they've seen it already. Any other, and the way last year was set up, you're not trying to watch a movie on a computer. You may not be savvy enough to cast it to your TV, So it's are they seeing it? I spoke with some people yesterday who are BAFTA voters, and they still haven't seen some of these movies. And I kept my mouth shut, I was like, okay, but Some people don't see all the movies.
Okay, before we
That's fine as long as they don't vote in a category where they haven't seen all the movies.
really,
If they
Russell,
vote,
you think
Yeah, absolutely.
No, I agree with you, but I'm
Yeah.
saying that, like, really, Russell?
But how many times
if they-
does that happen though? When even if they haven't seen the movie, they go ahead and vote for what they have seen. They don't vote for
you know that for sure.
So
You
they're
know that
we
for sure.
make the assumption.
Because in the directions on the ballot, it asks you not to vote in a category where you haven't seen all the nominees. And the only exception I'll make is if the film, say maybe it's the fifth film, okay, in a category where they were low budget independent, and if they spent any money on marketing, if they didn't send me a DVD or provide a link, then that meant, as far as I'm concerned, that they didn't want to win. Because I will hold out until I get that last, because the bigger movies, they're available. As you were saying, Wilson, they're throwing parties, they've got private screenings, so there's no way you're not going to see something from the majors. But some of these small ones, if they don't have the marketing war chest to send me a DVD or a link, then that really means that they didn't care about whether they won or not. And that will be the only time I'll vote for 4 out of the 5. But there's several categories this year where I said, okay, I'm not going to take time to go through all of these. It turned out a lot of the things in the crafts were also represented by movies that had already been nominated for Best Picture. So I didn't have to look at it again just for costumes or look at it again just for production design. But some of the others were specifically only nominated in certain crafts. But I do feel, as Wilson was saying, that they're two different. I think they're two different pushes. The push to see the movies before the nomination so you can nominate. And again, since we can only nominate in our craft and Best Picture, okay, then once the nominations are announced, I think most members who aren't actively trying to see films all year will then try to take the time to see what has been nominated. But there are people who are just going to vote for their friends regardless.
Hey, Russell, do you vote on every category?
I vote on every category, but I can only nominate in 2 categories.
Yeah, but tomorrow, but you get to vote for everything tomorrow?
I do. And that has changed over the years as well, because when I became an Academy member back in 1990, you had to go to a theater with someone taking attendance to be a voter on full-length documentary and documentary short. And you had to go through the same process for what used to be called foreign language. So you just couldn't vote for foreign language on the old paper ballot, but you had to have your name taken at a theater that was New York or LA or someplace where there was somebody from the Academy taking attendance. So once they changed that, then that means now there's probably no category I can't vote on, but I can still only nominate in my craft and for Best Picture.
Okay. So before we move on, let me take it back just for when we talked about Peter Finch winning in '76. The nominees that year were William Holden for Network, Peter Finch, of course, for Network, Sylvester Stallone for Rocky, Giancarlo Giannini for Seven Beauties, and a young man we all know by the name of Robert De Niro for Taxi Driver. And, again, no disrespect to Peter Finch, who I thought was fantastic in Network. How Robert De Niro did not win that Oscar that year, it plays back to what Wilson and Susan had both talked about, that, the politics of it all, that, he's young, he'll have another shot. De Niro, again, this is one of my arguments, and Russell and I have talked about this ad nauseum, that I believe that you guys should spotlight the person who gave the best performance in a year, because if you don't do that, then we run into a situation of what happened to Denzel Washington, what has happened to so many other people who were deserving in a particular year, but didn't win because there was another agenda afoot. We need to take care of this person because this person should have won this time or that time, but we'll recognize him this time. You guys talked about it earlier in the actress race that, you had Andra Day, who clearly gave what we thought was the best performance in this category, but probably won't win. So in the best actor race, who are we thinking? Are you guys thinking? Because we didn't get an answer from everybody on that as our time is running short. Is it going to be
Chadwick?
You going with Chadwick?
Going with Chadwick.
Well, one thing he always played heroes, and I liked seeing him be the sketchy guy trying to, not caring about Ma Rainey or anyone else.
Right.
And it was all about him. And it was sad, that he had talent, obviously, but unfortunately he didn't quite do it right to get ahead.
Well, I got you. And Charles?
I'm going with everyone else. I think Chadwick Boseman. I've been one of the few people that said Heath Ledger wouldn't have won if he hadn't died. So
wow.
I think
thought Ledger was fantastic.
No, he was great.
Yeah. Ledger.
But I think the performance that Chadwick put in definitely deserves the nomination and probably the win as well. So yeah, I go with Chadwick.
Although I wouldn't.
Go ahead.
I wouldn't. Anthony Hopkins, he's now the oldest Best Actor nominee at 83. And he was last year too, when he was 82 for the Pope movie. But I think there has been a little more focus on that.
I forgot he was nominated last year.
Yeah.
Back-to-back nominees could go a long way.
Look how long he's been nominated. I don't know, 6, 7, I forget how many times, but he won for, Silence of the Lambs, and that was like
91.
30 years ago.
Right,
Yep.
but it was actually more of a sporting part, but it didn't feel that way, his time on screen.
He played like a Marlon Brando part type, like in and out.
Right.
Russell, what are you thinking on the best actor race, man? The man with a vote. I'm not going to ask you what you voted for, but what are you thinking?
Well, again, my math would yield, as Susan had mentioned before, to the Screen Actors Guild pick. They picked Chadwick in their individual Best Actor awards, and they have the largest block of votes within the branches of the Academy. I know there's been noise about Anthony Hopkins, who you can never count out Sir Peter Anthony Hopkins. But I think if that movement was really afoot, they would have, the Screen Actors Guild at large probably would have voted Anthony Hopkins Best Actor at the Screen Actors Guild Award. So since Chadwick won that one, I think Chadwick has the edge. Even posthumously, I think he'll be the winner tomorrow night.
Man, Anthony Hopkins got his first Oscar nomination for A Lion and Winter back in 1968. So Anthony Hopkins,
and he was hella good in there too.
He was hella good. They called him one of the best actors of this generation in 1968. So Anthony Hopkins has been doing it for a long time.
Peter O'Toole got him that part.
Did he really?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
See, that's why I love Susan. Susan will drop one nugget every time she's on. So, guys, our time is short, but I just want to basically thank all of you guys for coming on. I teased both Susan and Wilson about being Oscarologists. I studied Oscars for years, and I guess the reason why I'm not one is because I'm so bitter, because I'm always hating, like, y'all should be, this is what you guys should be doing. But the Academy Awards is the platinum standard of all these award shows. So, that's why it's always of interest. That's why there are billions of people that watch it every year. It's the show of shows. Before we get out of here, everything is going to be done in person tomorrow in a very different way. And it's probably the first show that's really stepping out there. So I'm anxious to watch kind of how it's going to play out in the middle of this pandemic. What are you guys
Right.
expecting? Is there any surprises or anything that you guys are expecting from this Steven Soderbergh produced Academy Awards this year? No
I'm just here.
surprises, huh?
I have no idea what we're going to see.
Yeah, I mean, it's supposed to look like we're watching a film for the 2 hours or more that we're on the broadcast. So I'm just happy to take the ride with them. And I'm just sorry that I won't be there to hand out the sound award, because that would kind of be serendipitous, since it's the 30th anniversary of me becoming the first African American to win multiple Academy Awards. 30 years and 30 days to the day.
Wow.
But apparently that's not on the Academy's radar. But I certainly would have liked to have gone back and especially since I loved all the films that were in my category this year, even though I didn't get to see them in a theater the way I thought they should be.
Well, Sound of Metal,
So,
I think.
yeah, but I'll be
might get it.
watching.
I think it's going to get it.
Sound of Metal.
Oh yeah.
Because
Yeah, I think
in
so.
those categories, the most that usually wins.
Right.
Like the most
And then
makeup.
also, I'll put some trivia on there so I can join Susan as dropping the one, jewel, that the two previous movies that had sound in the title that were nominated for sound both won. So 1952, which happens to be the year I came along, the movie was The Sound Barrier. In 1965, The Sound of Music.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Okay,
See?
so this year The Sound of Metal, so it should be a three-peat if sound in the title means anything in the sound category.
Right.
All right, so Russell, you get a point for driving the jewel. The only jewelist Oscarologist is Wilson Morales.
Hey, look, man, I still haven't gotten my certificate as an Oscarologist, so I'm an intern. I'm an intern.
You've been fooling me. So
Charles, you got anything before we get out of here, man? Because we got about 30 seconds, man.
I just want to say The Dark Knight was a comic book movie. It wasn't really seriously considered until Heath Ledger died. It wasn't considered until he died. And so that's why I say he wouldn't have won if he hadn't died.
Well, another piece of trivia, it was The Dark Knight which created all the furor back in 2008, which is why the Academy changed the rules and went back to 10 films. Point for Tim for another jewel. Wilson, you jewelers, man. We're going next week, man. You got anything quick, Wilson? So you got any jewel, anything?
Nah, there's just hope for some history making tomorrow, and and it's a good night. Otherwise, he'd be like, "How did they get snubbed?"
Okay, can we see Charles? Can we see Charles Kirkland do Charles Mingus?
No, you cannot. You cannot.
Come on, Charlie.
But I want to thank all you guys for coming on. Before we get out of here, Wilson, tell people where they can read and follow your content.
You can find me over at blackfilmandtv.com. Same thing for social media: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook.
LeSuze, what about you?
They can go to rogerebert.com after this night coming up on Sunday and read whatever thoughts I've changed from what I said here.
Charles Kirkland.
You can find me at thefilmgordon.com and all my musings at the DC Film Life on Facebook and Twitter.
And Russell Williams, I know you don't write anything, man, but where can people watch your movies at, man?
Well, wherever the distributors have bought a licensing fee. So
Good answer. Good answer. All right. I want to thank all you guys for showing up. We will we'll document these predictions. So we had a couple of Andre Days. We had a Carey Mulligan. We had Chadwick Boseman big time. So we will see on Sunday. So happy Oscars to all of you. Thank you for the Oscar cap, Russell Williams. We see it. And until the other side, we'll see you guys next week. Please come back soon, Susan. We don't have enough of you on this show.
I agree.
You guys take care and enjoy your day.
Take care.
Bye.